Alrighty, it's 10 o'clock. Hello all. Welcome to another Daily Coup Connect. My name is Bogdan. I'm the Health Education Coordinator at Health Promotion at Cougar Health Services. And today I'll be briefly showing you a breathing app that I use called Heart Rate Plus Coherence. For those of you that attended my first or the first handful of Coup Connects, this is in April. You may have heard me speak about different ways I practice self-care. And one of the techniques I mentioned is deep breathing. So although I value all sorts of different self-care techniques, deep breathing and breathing exercises have been most helpful and impactful to me. Once I started practicing deep breathing years ago, I learned to relax quicker when I was stressed out, and I learned to clear my mind and focus when the world seemed a little bit noisy. And I think that a lot of us could use some of that relaxation, focus, and a clear mind these days. So there's really a lot of cool science behind deep breathing, mindfulness, and heart rate coherence. But today I won't be going into a lot of the science. My goal is pretty simple. Today I want the participants to walk away with a specific tool that they can use to practice self-care and specifically deep breathing. However, the things I talk about today and the app and the components of the app, like heart rate coherence and heart rate variability and mindfulness, those are all things I highly recommend everyone to look further into. If you go on YouTube, you can find a lot of cool, interesting, and educational videos on heart rate coherence, mindfulness, and deep breathing and the benefits. So I highly recommend that you go and watch those. I think you'll be entertained but educated, and you can take a lot of cool, useful tips that you can utilize and share with others. So I want to talk about an app. It's called Heart Rate Plus Coherence. So I want to talk about this app. What does it do? How does it work? In general, this app guides users at a specific breathing pace, and it measures measures the changes in your heart rate and how they match your breathing. Now, that may have sounded a little bit confusing to you. I'm going to unpack that just a little bit. So some of you may not know this, some of you may, but your heart rate will change when you breathe in compared to when you breathe out. So when you're breathing in, your heart rate will speed up a little bit. When you breathe out, your heart rate will slow down a bit. Usually, if you're more relaxed, your heart rate changes a lot more. So it'll slow down a lot more when you breathe out, and it'll increase a lot more if you breathe in. But if you're feeling a little bit of stress, those changes will be a lot smaller and your heart rate will be a lot more consistent. So the app helps you identify, not identify, but gives you a feel for what's your state of being currently. Are you relaxed? Are you stressed? Things like that. How does the app work? How do you use it? So hopefully on the screen that you can see the main screen that you would see on your app. I also have it up on my phone. You probably won't see it really well on the webcam, but what I have on my screen is exactly what's on the picture. So what you do is the app measures your heart rate, first of all. And how does it do that? It does that through by using your finger. You put your finger on your camera, on your phone's camera and flash, and then you tap the screen of your phone. And then what happens is this flash will turn on kind of like this. You put your finger over it, and the flash shines onto your finger. This allows the camera to detect your heart rate through your finger. So how does that work? Well, every time your heart beats, there's blood that rushes through your capillaries of your finger, and your finger becomes just a little bit darker. And the camera can detect these small changes in your color and measure your pulse. So when you do this, you hit the screen, you put your finger on, and then you wait about 10 seconds for the app to be able to detect your pulse. This shouldn't take more than a couple seconds, maybe 10 seconds at tops. So once you've tapped on the screen, at the bottom of the screen of your app, you'll see this yellow ball. It'll travel up and down and guide your breathing. So as the ball is traveling up, you'll be breathing in. And as it travels down, you breathe out. While you're doing all this, while the app is measuring your pulse and it's guiding you in this breathing, it gives you a score here at the top right corner. Gives you a score of how well those two things are matched up. And those two things is the change in your heart rate and the breathing rate. The app claims that a score of 80% or above indicates a good score, a healthy score, although it does take a little practice to be able to get 80% or higher. But with practice, you can definitely get far above that. So some other options for this app, there's some cool features that this app can do. I won't explore all of them, but I do want to give you some tips on customizing your experience using this app. You can change the rhythm of your breathing. So I think that when you download the app through the App Store, it automatically is set to a certain pace. For example, the pace that the image is showing is a relaxation pace, which means you're breathing in for a less amount of time than you're breathing out. And when you breathe out, usually that's when your body is experiencing some relaxation. So doing this rate for a couple minutes will relax your body. But there's also a focus pace or rhythm. And the focus one, it will energize you a little bit. And the way that one will look is your breathing in will match the time that it takes you to breathe out, or be a little bit longer. Anyways, there's a lot of ways you can customize it. You can customize it to a way that's more comfortable for you. Maybe you don't like breathing in for 5 seconds. Maybe that's too long. Or maybe you can breathe in for a lot longer than that and breathe out for a lot longer than that. Another way to customize your experience here is if you don't want to look at this score, it's really not like it's distracting to you while you're doing this exercise, and you prefer to do this exercise with your eyes closed. In the settings down here in the corner, you can turn the sound on for the app, and when you turn the sound on, it will guide you through your breathing without you having to look at it. And now I do want to let you hear what that sounds like on my phone really quick. So I don't know if you can hear this. I hope you can hear this. So that's something I like to use. I like to close my eyes and do this exercise and then see my score afterwards. And the reason I like this app is, especially if you're new to doing any deep breathing exercises, this turns it into kind of like a little game, a little competition with yourself. And it might be your initial motivation to use this app and try it out. So, but experienced deep breathers, they don't necessarily need an app, but this is kind of a fun way to get into it. Another thing you can do, as you can see in this photo, there is a heart rate monitor, which is a chest strap. Those do cost a little bit of money, but if you already have one of those, you can connect it to the app, and instead of using your finger and putting it over the camera to detect your pulse, the chest strap will do that for you, and it'll connect with the app via Bluetooth. And I like that option. I don't have a chest strap currently, but when I did, it was a lot easier to use, and it was a little more accurate. But you can definitely do it without. So that's a little bit about this app. You can find it in the App Store. There's a lot of these apps out there already, and I'm sure they're all great. Today I'm specifically just talking about this one. There are paid versions and there are free versions. The one I have on my phone is a free version. The paid version has more features. I think you won't spend more than $5 one time on it, and I think it's a good deal, especially if it's going to be assisting you with improving your mental health and getting into a very healthy self-care habit. Couple recommendations using this app. I personally like to use it first thing in the morning. So I get up, and usually I'm pretty groggy and a little grumpy in the morning. So I give myself a little time to wake up, I sip on my coffee, and then once I'm ready to hop into work or studying or any task that requires my attention, I typically start with the app for about 5 minutes. I'll do my breathing exercise, and after 5 minutes, usually that's enough time for me to feel, my body feels relaxation, but it also feels focused. I get a clear mind, and I get rid of some of the noise that I could wake up with in the morning. And then it helps me focus on my task much better. Other great times to use this app is during your 15-minute breaks or your lunchtime to help you transition from work to a little bit of rest, maybe a meal. And then the last time I want to talk about is before going to bed. This is an awesome tool to relax before sleep. Do the exercise for a couple minutes, and usually your body will relax, your mind will be a lot more clear, and it personally helps me fall asleep a lot quicker. Now, a heads up, for those of you that do try something like this, I want to tell you in advance, it may take you 5 to 10 sessions of using the app and these deep breathing exercises to train your mind and body to be able to relax and get into the rhythm of these deep breathing exercises. So the first time you pick up the app and do the exercise, you might not feel anything or notice any changes in your body and your mind and how you respond to the app. That's okay. Try it again. Try it again 5 more times, and I promise you, you should start feeling some kind of effect after a couple of minutes of using the app. Just like any other skill, it just takes your body a little bit of time to like figure it out. But eventually, I think that you will love the app or the deep breathing exercises just as much as I do. So I hope you've enjoyed learning about this new app. I do encourage you to check out some version of this app or something similar using your phone and this heart rate thing. And I do encourage you to go online, Google or YouTube some videos on heart rate coherence, heart rate variability, deep breathing, and mindfulness, all really interesting topics. And last, I just want to thank you for joining me today for a brief discussion. Please join us tomorrow at 10 a.m., just like always, with the same Zoom ID for a discussion with Don from WSU Human Resources. With that, have a great rest of your Thursday.